It is the hottest part of a summer afternoon, and you are trying to get a little something done in your kitchen, and they are everywhere. That fat, lazy housefly bumping against the window pane over and over, buzzing, that buzz that gets right under your skin. One lands on the rim of your coffee cup, another one is walking across the butter. You wave your hand and they scatter, and the second you turn your back, they are right back down on the food. You go and get the swatter, and you chase one around the kitchen like a fool for 10 minutes, and you miss it every time, and you knock over the salt. And the whole while, you know in the back of your mind exactly where that fly has been before it landed on your supper, and it turns your stomach. And maybe you have tried to fight them. You have got the can of spray under the sink that makes you cough and coats your counters in something you would rather not have near your food. You have got the sticky strips hanging in the corner, curling up brown and full, catching your hair every time you walk past. You have got the electric zapper, the little fans, the fake bags you hang up. And still, every summer, the moment the weather turns hot, your house fills up with flies, and you spend the whole season swatting and cursing and covering your plate with a dish towel. Well, it does not have to be that way. And it surely did not used to be that way. Because I grew up back in a holler in the mountains on a working farm with a barn full of animals not 50 feet from the kitchen door. And if anybody ever had a right to a house full of flies, it was us. But you could walk into my grandmother's kitchen on the hottest, stillest day in August with a pie cooling on the counter, and you would not find one single fly on it. Not one. Because she knew things. She knew the old ways, the ways that country people worked out over 100 years of living cheek to jowl with the barnyard, and those are the ways that most folks have plumb forgotten. So pull up a chair and let me give you the old mountain ways to get the flies out of your house and keep them out. There is not a one of them that will cost you much, and not a one that will put poison anywhere near your food. And by the time we are done, you are going to have your kitchen back. Now, before I give you a single trick, I have to tell you the one thing that changes everything. The one hard fact that, once you understand it, makes all the rest of this easy. And here it is. You are not fighting the flies you can see. You are fighting where they are born. Let me say that again, because it is the whole secret. That fly buzzing on your windowsill did not come from nowhere. It was born just a few days ago as a little white maggot wriggling in something rotten and wet and filthy, because that is the one thing a housefly has to have. She does not lay her eggs just anywhere. She lays them in filth, in the garbage, in manure, in a pile of rotting scraps, in a forgotten bit of meat, in the muck at the bottom of a trash can, in a dead mouse in the wall, in the wet gunk down in your kitchen drain. And from that egg to a full-grown, buzzing, egg-laying fly is about 7 to 10 days in the heat of summer. 7 days. And one female fly will lay 500-600 eggs in her short life. So do the arithmetic. Every fly you swat is one fly. But every bit of filth you clean up is 500 flies that will never be born at all. The old-timers understood this in their bones. They did not waste their whole day swatting at the grown flies on the window. They went to the root. They took away the places where flies are made. No breeding ground, no maggots, no maggots, no flies. It is that simple, and it is where everything starts. Now, I have been talking about the big house fly, but let me say a quick word about her little cousin, because a good many of you are fighting both. That tiny fly, the one that comes up in a cloud when you lift the fruit bowl, that is the fruit fly, and she plays by the very same rule. She is born in things sweet and rotting. And the overripe banana going brown on your counter in the soft potato at the bottom of the bin, in the wet film down inside your kitchen drain, and in the sticky bottom of a pop can in the recycling. Same rule exactly. And that drain, now that is the one that folks miss every single time. If you have got a mess of little flies and you cannot for the life of you figure out where they are coming from, 9 times out of 10, it is your drain breeding in the gunk down inside it where you cannot see. A kettle of boiling water and a good splash of vinegar poured down it a couple times a week will scour out that film and put a stop to it cold. So the first old way, and the most important one by a mile, is to hunt down and take away what is breeding them. Walk through your house and your yard with new eyes and think like a fly looking for a filthy, wet place to lay her eggs. Start with your garbage. That kitchen trash can needs a tight lid, and it needs to be emptied before it gets ripe, not after. The can outside needs a lid that actually shuts, and it wants rinsing out now and again because the sour muck in the bottom is a fly nursery. Your compost pile, if you keep one, needs to be covered and turned, and you never, ever put meat or grease in it. If you have animals, a dog or chickens or a milk cow, their waste is the number one thing that breeds flies. So it has got to be cleaned up and kept away from the house. And here's the one nobody thinks of. A dead mouse or a bird up in your wall or under your porch or back of a cupboard will hatch a whole army of flies, and you will wonder where on earth they are all coming from. If you have got a sudden mess of flies in one room for no reason, go looking for something dead. And do not overlook the little everyday things right under your nose. The recycling bin full of unwashed cans and bottles, sweet and sticky in the heat, give them a rinse before they go in. The pet's food bowl, left sitting out with a little wet food turning sour, pick it up between meals. The overripe fruit in the bowl on the counter, use it or lose it before it goes soft. Not a one of those seems like much on its own, but every single one is a place a fly will happily lay 100 eggs. Take away the filth, all of it, big and little, and you have shut off the tap. The second old way is to keep the ones outside from ever getting in. And that means the screen, a good tight screen door, and screens in your windows are the finest fly control ever invented, and the old people knew it. But a screen is only as good as its worst hole. So once a year, you walk every screen in the house, and you patch every tier and every little gap, because a fly will find the one hole the size of a pea and bring the whole family through it. And that screen door has got to have a good spring on it so it snaps shut behind you, because in the heat of the day, a door left open even for a moment is an invitation, and they pour right in. My grandmother kept a screen door that would slam like a shot, and she would holler at us young ones to mind it, and she was right too. The third old way costs you nothing at all, and it works on the fly's own nature. You keep your kitchen cool and shaded in the heat of the day. Here is a thing most folks never notice. A fly loves the heat and the bright sun. That is when she is most active, buzzing and breeding and hunting for your food. In the cool and the dim, she goes quiet and sluggish. So the old houses, without a lick of air conditioning, were built and run to stay cool and dark through the worst of the day. They drew the shades and pulled the curtains on the sunny side come noon. They kept that kitchen shaded and cool as a cellar. And the flies, they just were not near as bad in a cool, dark room as they are in a hot, bright one. Draw your shades in the heat of the afternoon, and you will take a lot of the fight right out of them. And here is a little piece of that same knowing. When flies do get into a dim room, they will nearly always gather at the one bright window, trying to get back out to the sun. My grandmother knew this, and it is where she would deal with them all in one place at the sunny window instead of chasing them all over the house. That is the spot to hang your trap or your fly paper or your water bag, right at that bright window where they all collect. Let their own nature bring them to one place, and your job gets a whole lot easier. The fourth old way is to never, ever leave food or dirty dishes sitting out. And I mean never. This sounds almost too plain to say, but it is the thing that draws them down out of the air and onto your table. A fly can smell food from a long way off. So the old rule in a country kitchen was simple. Food is either being eaten or it is put away and covered. The butter went under a butter dish. The pie went into the pie safe. That old cupboard with the punch tin doors that let the air through but kept the flies out. The bowl on the table had a piece of cheesecloth or a wire mesh dome over it. The dishes got washed right after the meal, not left to sit in the sink drawing flies all afternoon. And that dish rag, that sour, wet dish rag draped over the faucet, that is a fly magnet. So it got rinsed and hung to dry. Give a fly nothing to land on and nothing to eat, and she will go looking somewhere else. The fifth old way is to grow and hang the things that a fly cannot stand the smell of. Because just like the mosquito, there are plants and herbs whose smell a fly hates and will keep away from. The best of them all is basil. A good pot of basil growing right there on the kitchen windowsill will keep the flies off that window, and it is right there to cook with besides. Mint is another one, strong and sharp, and it grows like a weed. Lavender, and an old one, folks, forget the bay leaf. My grandmother kept a little bunch of dried bay leaves and mint and lavender tied up and hanging by the door and laid in the cupboards. There is an old plant called tansy that the old timers planted right by the kitchen door and the windows for exactly this, because flies will not come near it. Grow the basil and the mint on your sill, hang a bundle of dried herbs by the door, and you have put up a wall of smell that flies turn away from. The sixth old way is my favorite because it is pretty and it sits right on your table. The clove-studded lemon. This is one of the oldest tricks there is, and it truly works. You take a fresh lemon or an orange, and you take a handful of whole cloves, and you just push the cloves into the skin of the fruit all over until it is studded all around like it is wearing a coat of them. And you set it in a little dish in the middle of your table. That smell, the sharp, sweet smell of the cloves and the citrus together, is a smell that flies cannot abide, and they will keep away from that table. The old folks would set 2 or 3 of them out when they had food on the table, and it kept the flies off, and it made the whole room smell like Christmas. It cost you a lemon and a nickel's worth of cloves, and it is the prettiest fly repellent you ever saw. And it lasts. That studded lemon will dry down hard over a week or 2 into a little brown clove ball, and it keeps right on working, and it keeps on smelling sweet in the cupboard long after. My grandmother always had 2 or 3 of them going, one on the table, one on the windowsill, one drying in the pantry, and I can smell them to this day when I close my eyes and think of that kitchen. The seventh old way is the old smells and the old wipe down, because a fly hunts by smell, and there are smells that drive her right out of a room. Cloves, like we said, cedar, an old cedar block or a bit of cedar shavings in a dish, crushed bay leaves, and here is the daily one that does more than all of them. When you wipe down your counters and your table, wipe them with vinegar or with a little water and peppermint. A fly hates the smell of vinegar, and she hates peppermint. And wiping your surfaces with it every day both cleans up the food smells that draw her down and leaves behind a smell that pushes her away. 2 birds with 1 stone, and no poison anywhere near your food. And if you want to make it stronger, there are a few oils the old folks would use, the same ones we talked about for the mosquito. Peppermint oil, lavender, eucalyptus, and the strongest one for flies, a few drops of lemongrass or clove oil. Put a few drops on a cotton ball or an old cloth and tuck it up on the windowsill or by the door or wherever they like to gather, or put a little in a spray bottle of water and mist it around the window frames in the doorway. It fades after a day or two, so you freshen it up, but it lays down a line of smell that a fly will not want to cross. It is the very same idea as the herbs, just a little more concentrated, and a small bottle lasts you the whole summer. The eighth old way is to set a trap and let it do your swatting for you. And you can make one for nothing. Take a jar or a can and put in the bottom a little apple cider vinegar or some sugar water or a spoonful of something sweet gone a little sour, because that smell of sweet decay is exactly what a fly cannot resist. Then put in one single drop of dish soap, and that is the secret, because the soap breaks the surface so that when she lands to feed, she cannot fly back off, and down she goes. You can roll a piece of paper into a funnel and set it in the top so she goes in easy and cannot find her way out. Set a couple of these on the windowsill and by the trash, and they will quietly catch flies all day long while you go about your business. For those little fruit flies especially, this trap is the whole answer. A small jar of apple cider vinegar with 1 drop of soap set right by the fruit bowl, and in a day or two you will have caught the whole lot of them, and you will wonder why you ever fussed with anything else. And of course there is the old sticky fly paper that the old folks made themselves with syrup and a bit of resin on a strip of paper hung up in the sunny window where the flies gather. It is not pretty, and it will catch your hair if you walk into it, but it works, and it always has, and it costs next to nothing. The 9th old way is one that will make you smile, because half the old timers swore by it and half of them laughed at it, and that is the water bag over the door. You have maybe seen this at an old diner or a country store. A clear plastic bag, half full of water, sometimes with a few shiny pennies dropped in the bottom, hung up over the doorway or in the window. Now, the old folks will tell you a fly will not cross under it, that the light bouncing through the water and off the pennies scrambles up her eyes and turns her away. Does it work? Well, I will be honest with you and tell you that folks argue about it to this day. But I will also tell you that I have seen those bags hanging in the doorway of many an old country kitchen that did not have many flies in it, and it cost you a sandwich bag and 3 cents to try. So hang one up and make up your own mind. And the 10th old way, the last one, is to let nature do the work for you, the same as always. You put the hungry things to work. If you keep chickens, you already own the finest fly control there is. You have just got to use it. A flock of hens will scratch through the very muck where flies breed and eat up the maggots by the hundred before they ever hatch, and they will snap the grown flies right out of the air. Run your chickens where the flies are worst, around the compost and the barn, and they will clean it out for you and give you eggs for the trouble. The barn swallows and the purple martins that nest under your eaves and in the yard, leave them be and put up a house for them, because a single family of swallows will eat many hundreds of flies and gnats and mosquitoes in a day, and they will work your yard from dawn to dark for nothing but a place to nest. And even that spider spinning her web in the corner of the porch or the barn, she is on your side, quietly catching flies day and night. The old-timers did not sweep down every web and shoo off every bird the way we do now. They knew that a farm and a home is a balance, and that the hungry things that eat flies are worth 10 times more than any spray in any can. Make a place for them, leave them be, and they will keep the flies down for you while you sleep. So there they are, the old mountain ways to get the flies out of your house. Hunt down and take away what breeds them, and never forget, that is the big one. Keep them out with a tight screen and a door that snaps shut. Keep your kitchen cool and shaded in the heat. Never leave food or dishes sitting out. Grow the basil and the mint and hang the dried herbs. Set out a clove-studded lemon. Wipe your counters with vinegar and peppermint. Set a sweet trap with a drop of soap. Hang a water bag over the door if you have a mind to. And put the chickens and the swallows and the spiders to work. Not one of those cost you what a summer of spray costs. And every last one is something your great-grandmother knew by heart. Now, let me tell you the one thing I want you to do this week. I am not going to ask you to do all 10. I want you to take a walk around your kitchen and your yard and find the one filthy, wet, forgotten place that is breeding them. The trash can that needs a scrub. The compost that needs covering. The something dead you have been smelling. Find that one thing and clean it up. That is all. Because I promise you, that one thing will do more than a whole summer of swatting, and in a week, you are going to notice your kitchen has gone quiet. And I want to hear from you down in the comments. Tell me, what did your people do to keep the flies out back before there was a can of spray under every sink? Did your grandmother hang the herbs? Did she keep a clove lemon on the table? Was there some trick, some remedy that I did not even think to mention here tonight? Because those old ways, those little pieces of hard-won knowing, they slip away for good when nobody says them out loud anymore. And I would dearly love to gather them up and pass them on. So put it down there in the comments. I read every single one that comes in. And next time, I believe we will step out of the kitchen and into the garden, and I will show you the old way to keep the bugs off your tomatoes and your beans without a drop of poison, so that everything you work so hard to grow ends up on your table and not eaten full of holes. So go on and subscribe and stay with me so you do not miss it. But until then, go find that one filthy place and clean it out. Hang yourself a clove lemon and take your kitchen back. Because a cool, clean kitchen on a hot summer day with a pie on the counter and not a fly in sight is one of the small good things this life has to give, and it was never meant to belong to the flies. It was meant to belong to you.